feel like a mustache twirling villain. Get out of control. Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here today to discuss True Detective Season 1, Episode 4. And as usual, I'm here with Chris Mohan. Chris, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, good to be here. I don't have a mustache to twirl. If you'd have given me a better notice, I maybe could have done something about it, but no, not yet.
And this is work. This is like 2.5 months. This is like effort. So this is all I got. This is it. As good as it gets to get. But so episode 4 it had a different feel to it. I think this episode had a different vibe to it. I think it went from focusing a lot on characters and developing them to more of a kind of took a turn in a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got to the end of this, and it's weird because I've written a lot more notes, but I think that tells me a lot more about that there was events happened here rather than necessarily things that I was trying to interject between. So I have a lot of like procedurally what happened rather than what my notes most weeks are. Oh, this thing happened or this conversation happened, but this look probably could mean something like this. So it was very much more, it's much more like a procedural TV show, you know, that you would probably associate with this genre of TV. Yeah.
Yeah, it did go to more of a procedural, and it was a, I've watched the series a couple of times, but this episode felt a little jarring. Not that it was in a bad, it just felt a lot different than the first 3.
Yeah, definitely. I think I've got a stage at the end where stuff happens. There's like a very prolonged action sequence in it, for instance, which I don't think we've really had to the same extent, you know. And it's like other than okay, there's stuff happens. There's not really an awful lot more to say about it, other than the events that happened that probably lead to something that's happened. What I would say, this episode is obviously Breaking Bad. Should be the title of it for sure. As Rust kind of does break bad on it.
Yeah, and Marty, I guess we see some movement with Marty because his mistress tells his wife about what's going on, and his wife doesn't react too well to that, and he's out on he has a couple of suitcases waiting for him, and at first I thought the interaction in the courthouse between Marty and I forget her name, but his
Lisa, was it? I think
was it Lisa?
Maybe Lisa, possibly Lisa.
Yeah, that interaction I thought was great. And when the elevator's closing and she yells at him, "You have to treat me with respect," and he says, "This is respect," because in his mind, that is treating her with respect in his twisted version of reality.
Well, in his defense, considering the only other 2 times we've seen her, definitely he was not treating her with respect in either occasion. You know, I can see from his point of view how he might interpret it that way. But it's a weird one because I'm sort of glad to see his bags packed. You know, it's like that kind of thing of how often can you watch somebody be an absolute douche and get away with it before you know you kind of go, oh yeah, at least there'll be some payback of it, etc. But it's funny because it obviously does change Marty's approach. You know, he obviously isn't the doldrums, but there is a point that he just gets very invested in his work and doing his job properly. Like I did kind of notice the kind of calm off the storm of him while all the shit's going down. He's just sitting in the car reading his book. I went, oh, Marty's turned into one of us.
Yeah. And just imagine your partner is in this bar, right? Who is trying to finagle this drug deal, trying to get to one of your suspects or someone you want to talk to. And so you don't know where he is. He's lost somewhere. He may be dead. He might be being tortured. Who knows? And you're just hanging out in the car, just reading a book. Just, you know.
I mean, this is what I suggest. I think this is what people think you do, Steve. You're talking about us as such a nice guy, you know, all the time, but you read some of this really dark shit, you know, and it's like, you know, it's just when all the shit's going down, he's like, oh, this is good fun. He's just, you know, flicking through the book or whatever. But I think it was kind of jarring in its own right because Marty had been this wreck for about 15, 20 minutes of the episode where he couldn't concentrate on anything. He'd kind of broken down and all the rest of it. But it was like he found peace in working the work and kind of realizing where he had control and where he hadn't.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's almost like he regained his focus when that happened. That his distraction was gone. That he had all of that was kind of in a place where he couldn't do anything really with it. So he focused on his work, and he's actually pretty good at it when he's not distracted.
Well, it was not that line in the episode that goes, it turned out I was looking in all the wrong places, or, was asking the wrong questions or something to that ilk. That was the line. And he kind of switches into detective mode, and he kind of gets his shit together enough to the point where you're like, okay,
Yeah.
let's get stuff done. Let's kick this forward. Let's be the person that he wants to be, even though it's all Rust that's putting himself in the danger.
Yeah, takes a lot of the risk. And our friend Tony's here. Hey, Tony,
Hey, Tony.
get to join us one of these weeks.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he says something like, I was looking at all the wrong place. It was right in front of my face, and I was looking in the wrong place, or
Wrong places,
I didn't
yeah.
see it. But yeah, I did the conversation between Maggie and, well, first the conversation with Marty and Rust, when Marty's trying to unload on him. He keeps telling him, "It's not my business. I don't care. I don't want to hear about this." I mean,
It's not my fault you can't spot Chrissy Pussy. It was not that's the
yeah,
line.
you see all this, bravado, and you can't, you don't know, you can't spot it.
Yeah, and and then there was the good retort from Marty. I did write it down. What was it? It said, like, you're like hell of a bedside manny. You're like the Michael Jordan of being a son of a bitch.
That was a good one too.
It's just
Yeah,
got a great line as a real singer, for sure.
yeah, they find a way to mix some humor in.
Yeah,
in that.
but it was interesting because we didn't actually see Rust until maybe about 20 minutes into the episode.
Hmm.
I think it's the first time we properly see him, and it was like, oh yeah, okay. Well, aside from the start where they do the interviewing with Charlie and the thing, but it's a very Marty centric episode for a lot of that.
Mhm.
That period of time has come across in all facets. I actually wondered when they cut to the court scene. I didn't know at the time it was for the the breaking and entering kind of case, but I thought, oh, maybe we're getting a shot of later on in the case, etc. At that stage, because the first time I'd seen a court scene part of it, oh, okay, this is jumping about, but it hasn't quite jumped there just yet. But
How awkward would that be? I mean, just they both have a straight. I mean, she has a really straight face when she's there transcribing the case, but he keeps looking at her because he knows that, yeah, he's trying to. I don't know if he's trying to like intimidate her or just try to like get a message out to her, but she holds a really straight face.
well, I think there's that thing. It's one of the things when he says, "Here, this is me respecting you." He thinks he's got the upper hand, and he's keeping her place. Do you know who I am? Kind of thing. And he doesn't really consider that there are consequences, or that there could be consequences to his actions. Uh, and the whole thing. And even Russ pointing out the bit that everybody else realized is that she'd followed you to that bar that night. Like, did you not even realize that? That's thing trying to make you jealous, and yet you fell for it hook, line, and sinker.
And I think he even tells him something like, like you were so obvious, like everyone knew. There
Yeah,
was no secret. He thought he was being
discreet.
slick, and there was no, everyone knew what was going on. When Maggie tells Rust, "You must have been a great husband." I love her. She's gangster when they're in the cafe.
Yeah, I mean, I have a note on that. Like, I thought it was a good line at the time, but I think when he walks out then afterwards, she realizes that she's projecting her anger onto Russ, which is
Mhm.
completely obviously the wrong place. And I think there is a realization in her to kind of say, "Ooh, this isn't who I am," kind of thing. At the time,
I think Rust becomes like the messenger
yes,
because
he does
he's almost like the unwilling, the go between, and he's
for
taking the
sure.
brunt of the abuse when all he's been to her is respectful, and he's been a friend to her, in a
Indeed.
platonic way.
And he's respectful of her, saying, I was sent with a lorry load of apologies, but I'm not even going to bother telling
Mhm.
you them because that's like, what good is that going to do? That's it's not what you want to hear. I know that's not what you hear, but I am here out of respect for both of you. That's pretty much what he's saying.
Yeah, and he
Interesting
tells her
dynamic between those two for sure.
there is a well. What's your take? I don't want to say too. What's your take on that dynamic between those two characters?
So I mean, at the moment, I think there is it's a platonic relationship at the moment, but I think I said this very early doors. There is an understanding about who each other are, kind of unseen, that Marty and Maggie don't have. You know, they exist in a very different level. And from Marty's point of view, it was even obvious in the last one, he feels threatened by the relationship that they have, even in pure conversational terms and talking terms. So he may read more into it than maybe seems to be there at the moment. But there definitely is a connection on a, even on a friendship level, that and a comfort level there that doesn't seem to be. And even the reaction of the "you must have been a great husband," which is the zinger to hurt him. I think both of them, he walks away from the situation so he doesn't kind of break that relationship in a way, because the only way he can do is respond to that negatively, so he removes himself from the situation.
Yeah, Tony brought up a point, and we'll talk about season 4 here in a second, but that tracking shot, that was a long shot. I didn't notice it before, but it's a long it looks like a continuous shot. I think there's a couple of moments when it kind of, they're walking around a building or they're looking up in the sky where I think they probably had a break, but it looks pretty seamless.
Oh, it's amazing. Honestly, when you kind of think to yourself and watch it and go, the planning that goes into that is amazing. Especially, I always think for those tracking shots, it's all right to say you're focusing on the character and the being dragged through, but look at all the things that are happening and the events that are happening in the background as all those things are going on, and the timing of all that. That's just like, oh wow.
And there's a lot of actors in that whole scene. There's like maybe 15, 20 people in that continuous shot. So everyone has to be in the right moment, coming around the corner at the right moment, or delivering their lines at the right moment, or shooting the gun at the right moment, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot that has to work.
The bit that really stands out is, you know, the final bit before they jump the fence, but they're hiding around the side of the house, and the people come out of the house and turn right and walk away. They've got to be walking quickly enough that there's enough distance between them so they're far enough away. So by the time that they turn left and have been spotted, they're not going to get caught by the time. Like, it has to be believable enough for that to happen. It's like, that must take an awful lot of practice and pacing out, and you've got to walk at this speed. You're going to fall here. There's a real level of detail there that I think goes unseen, and a lot of those for getting the whole scene to be believable, that they just slip away.
Yeah, I was impressed with it. I think there are a couple of cuts. I think there is a couple of cuts, but it's done in a way where it's hard to spot.
Well, I think there is a cut just before that very scene that I talked about, where they appear at the side of the house, and they do. But even like, there's just it's very, very clever.
Yeah, and I don't think I'd noticed that before. That it was one. It looks like a continuous shot.
Well, even the bit before that, where it does seem to be the continuous shot, where they're going around through the houses and through the bushes, etc. Terrific.
Yeah, really good. I was impressed. And Tony had a question. No, it doesn't have anything to do with episode 4, but what are your thoughts on Jodie Foster as the main character in season 4? 4 is the magic number, you know.
I thought 3 was the magic number, according to anyway.
I think third time's a charm, I think. Yeah.
So I hadn't seen that, but interestingly, what was I listening to the other day? Somebody was talking about Silence of the Lambs, and they were saying when Jodie Foster was cast as in Silence of the Lambs, it was very much, the person was saying, "Oh, that'll never work. Like, it can't be tough for acting hard enough." So people's expectations of who Jodie Foster are, just from a casting news, is often totally ineffectual. I think Jodie Foster's quite brilliant in everything she's ever done. In fact, one of my favorite sci-fi movies that nobody seems to like, Contact.
Yeah,
indeed. I think she manages to carry that off by herself. I just think that's a smart sci-fi movie that everybody seems to dislike. I don't know.
Really? I thought it was not a beloved movie, but I thought it was a relatively well-liked movie.
Maybe I'm just asking the wrong people.
Yeah. I thought it was good. I mean, I don't know if I quite got it when I first saw it, but when a couple of viewings, it kind of made more sense to me.
Yeah,
the ending.
I haven't read the book now, but yeah, well, I think the ending's supposed to be that open, kind of interpretive, but I think that kind of suits. I'm not really talking about Contact, but I think it suits kind of the events that happen at the end of it, where people don't really believe what's happened and all that kind of stuff. But
he was referring to episode 4, season 4, yeah, in the 90s version of Interstellar.
Yeah, I go with that. Yeah.
A great
Interstellar's
movie.
got one of those endings too.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's another one. A great ending. But the what Rust puts himself through to go back to that place and and to go back to that mindset to put himself in the gutter again or undercover and back where he was before after he's gotten it seems like he's gotten a lot better. He's
Mm.
kind of recovered and he's not using drugs anymore and for him to kind of put himself back for the sake of the case I thought was a powerful like sequence there for him to go back to that place.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that jumped out to me about that because it wasn't just a case of, I mean, you could say he's very method in his police work, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Because his breaking bad back into the place starts long before they even get in the car to go.
Mhm.
There is, I love that thing where he keeps his drink in with his guns.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the trick. That's kind of this similar danger level in there. But even when he's stealing the coke from the stash, he starts hitting the coke before he's even on the thing. He takes the snort of the coke before he even starts in the case, and then it kind of continues on with that shooting up with the ink and cayenne or whatever it was that he put into him. And I think there was that thing of Marty looking at him and seeing him in that state. I think there was like a pause and kind of going, Jesus, this is this is hard. This isn't detective work. This is something else.
Yeah, he does start out and I wondered if he tries the coke to know the quality because he doesn't want to show up with bad quality coke. So
Maybe,
that's what kind
maybe.
of way I took it is he's making sure that it's not crap
Ah,
because he wants
that's
to
a
he
good
wants to
point.
he wants to impress them with the quality of it and say this is what I have to offer.
Yeah, because there is an illusion that maybe Rust isn't who he says he is as well, and I wondered whether the modern day police detectives who are doing the conversation part, where they say, he said he went back to look after his dad who had leukemia, and obviously they're doing it to cover up the fact the undercover
Mhm.
work that they did, etc. But whether it's like a double bluff kind of thing, because he's still talking about his dad 30 years later, even though it doesn't really matter. And
Mhm.
even the fact things like when Marty asks Russ how long he was undercover, he says 4 years, and I thought 11 months was the maximum, as if he didn't actually know the details of that. So is the real Russ dead? And people thought Christ was
Mhm.
dead, but then he goes back and he's recognized and stuff. So there's a whole lot of stuff about who he really might be that brought up to me, and obviously that's one of the mysteries. But I kind of thought you could write it off as just being, oh, that's for the case, but actually it could play double meanings or otherwise if we're going forward. Still have this thing of doubting Rust in some way, um, how I go across. So we'll see, with that.
And there was even more kind of hints that uh, that Rust was he's there's something more under the surface when they
Yeah,
kind of his dad was like a survivalist and he was
that's right.
kind of so it almost they're toying with that idea that maybe like he kind of fits the profile.
Yeah, exactly. It fits the profile, or it will do anything to adapt his surroundings, like a survivalist would. That kind of fit in, and you see that through what he does to fit in so quickly to the clan again,
Mhm.
and into the Iron whatever Crusaders was that called? Yeah.
Iron Crusaders. Tony Cole gets heavily involved in the gang during his long period undercover in narcotics, which gives him an in. Cole applies the same meticulous attention to detail to undercover work as he does to investigations. Yeah, he goes all
Yeah.
in. he, he really applies himself. He doesn't
Oh, and I
doesn't play
could
around.
be totally off the course here, but it also could be explained that he had his in not as an undercover narcotics person, but also as part of the original narcotics gang. Without and assumed the identity afterwards when he
Mhm.
moved. Like those things are all still very possible, should I say, at this stage for not seen. So there are lots of tenuous links to other things, mostly created around the fact that we really don't know an awful lot of Rust about Rust other than his legend.
Other than what he tells you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
And he tells you what he does want to tell you. But I think that those are the kind of things that jump out to me. But they've definitely been playing with this idea that there's more to Rust than what you have been initially told at the start, like who appears to be a very stand-up, very detailed and thoughtful detective. You see this side of him and you go, shit, this went some dark place. But if that is true, it also goes to explain how and why he ends up in the headspace where he's killed 3 men, and to find himself out, because he when shit goes down in this episode, he adapts quickly.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does, and stuff. You kind of get the notion that this isn't. I mean, when they go into the house and there's already people outside gathering and they're yelling and screaming and they're looking at the car, and they're you're not going to make it out of there without a fight. I mean, things are going bad. And it makes me wonder, these, they're all high and they're like, yeah, let's go do this. Like, not the best time to make those kind of choices.
Yeah, but it's very clever camera work insofar it never shows you what Ginger's doing at the whole time, because you are sitting as the person watching it going, what the fuck is he doing? What is the hold up here? What is, why can't they leave? Why can't they move? And you kind of feel the same as Cole. Just don't shoot anybody. Don't fire the gun, because as soon as the first gun gets fired here, all hell's going to break loose. And like I say, he's already got a plan for dealing and how to get out of it very, very quickly.
Yeah, I did wonder how. So Rust gets on the boat, and they're gonna go towards the. I'm guessing Marty knew the general direction because he calls him. He's like, "Be here in 90 seconds."
Yeah, that's the bit. That bit didn't make too much sense to me at all about how could he be so close.
Hmm.
They have been away in some, especially because he's sitting reading in the car. He's very calm about the whole thing, insofar as this is what's going to happen, and it doesn't seem like he's a tracker or anything on him. It's just, it is what it is.
Yeah, maybe he kind of had an idea. I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
But it would appear that he doesn't know the region. Like, it seems like Ross knows the region. And well, who knows? Who knows? Convenience, maybe, I don't know. Maybe the 90 seconds give you a bit of a time skill and a bit of extra drama.
Yeah, it just kind of just chalked it up to convenience. Just like it kind of works like this. But yeah,
I'm okay with that.
Yeah, the fact that that Marty moves in with Rust after he gets kicked out, I thought that would be a strange. That'd make for some strange, awkward mornings.
I thought we'd get more kind of buddy copy kind of things within the two of them together, as they as Marty's melting down and Rust is like going, "Oh, you idiot." I thought we'd get a bit more play with that. Maybe it's coming if and when they get back, but it definitely feels like in Marty's manic phase of when he just went to see Maggie and chalk it out and he lost his shit. Would see a bit more Breaking Bad. I really like the phone call with the father-in-law.
Oh yeah. No, we haven't seen eye to eye.
Yeah. He admits, I've never liked you. That's good. The things that people do to keep happy marriages and keep happy families, etc. I've never liked you. You're never to call here again. Which I very much assume we will see Maggie quite a lot still to come. I think she still feels very central. It's not like she's completely removed from everything that's going on. And Marty just being his usual pathetic self, it's because when my dad died, and for frick's sake, stop it. Just
yeah. He tries to find excuses for it.
Yeah.
But what's funny was when they visited, I forget his name in the cell.
Yeah, Charlie.
When they visited him, and they were kind of. He said, "Is it?" Or I forget, something happens that he's complaining, and they tell him basically to shut up, and he says, "Well, my wife's dead, and my wife just got murdered," and I kind of felt like the same thing. Marty did the same thing with Maggie, kind of like, "Well, my dad just died." So he's kind of like the same kind of
back, yeah. And but you've seen the short shrift that Charlie and stuff got as well. It didn't really matter. It doesn't. Those excuses don't really pull any weight. It is what it is. It's effective in both cases. Yeah, but there's a couple of things about that whole scene at the start. So he has the story and describing Reggie and saying he has the spiral on his back, but he also gives that description where Reggie talked about this place where rich men go to devil worship and they sacrifice kids. He says something about Carcosa and the Yellow King, and that there's old stones out by the woods. So much good killing out there. So we do get some detail about this kind of spiritualistic rights or whatever they're doing out there, that it is sort of tied together. So whether Reggie's ultimately the person that did it, he certainly is involved in the thing in some way.
Yeah, that whole it kind of makes you wonder a little bit if it's how much of that is the kind of like the satanic panic of that
Mm-hmm.
kind of time period. How much of
Yeah,
that's true, or what is it? Just posturing?
or how you just use one tiny link and kind of make the rest of the connections together in your head. Is it
Yeah,
you just mentioned the spiral thing, and we as the audience go, well, that must be linked because that's we haven't seen the spiral. It could be a different spiral thing. If you don't know anything about it, but you make this automatic link between the two things to say, oh, these two things must be connected. There must be something in this, and well, we shall see. I suppose.
we'll see.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or do you want to drink Jameson when you watch these episodes? Because they're always drinking Jameson.
I did written down. Oh, Jim, he's an Irish whiskey drinker. There you go. I'm not a massive fan of Irish whiskey now. I have to say. Well, I'll do like it a bit better than Scotch. But I suppose Jameson. If I had to drink one, Jameson would be the pick out of the options that we have around here. But yeah, they've only got half bottles. They're only bloody shortcut drinkers, I mean, this don't even have a liter bottle. It's a bloody half bottle or a quarter bottle. I don't know.
Amateurs. Yeah,
Amateurs,
I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I like Jameson's fine. Like if it's around, I'll drink it. But when I watch these episodes, and they always have Jameson somewhere. I don't know if they're getting like an endorsement or something.
I used to work on off sales for many years. We didn't even sell half bottles of Jameson. What a waste of time.
Really?
Yeah, half bottles of Bush, half bottles of Powers. That was pretty much it for whiskey.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah, it'd be but yeah, just seeing them kind of take turns drinking that little bottle was like, oh, it's good. And then it's again on the counter later, a bigger bottle.
There's John Powers. There you go.
With Powers, I haven't tried. I don't think I've tried that one.
It's nice. I don't know. I'm not a massive whiskey fan, but well, yeah,
it's nice.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, so that let's see what else. So that long shot was kind of got my attention. That was kind of what stood out to me the most, is that long continuous shot.
Yeah, look continuous shot. Yeah, the other things that I kind of pointed out there was or found out, yeah, that whole scene with in the hospital, right when Marty and Maggie are going to, and he's screaming. The doctor comes out to ask him who he is, and he says, "Have we got a problem here?" And he says, "I'm speaking to my wife," and he says, "Do you have to phone the cops?" And he says, "I am law enforcement." And that's that line of, yeah, but are you here in that capacity at the moment? And he's kind of stumped and going, and then it just cuts then to short time later of the screaming and shouting, and he's been handled by two hospital security people, for all his high power and his, how he pushes people around. He can't get near even in the hospital. He's just kind of powerless in that case. It's kind of like he's taken his manliness away from him in that period.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, good point. And he does. He does. I don't think he's used to feeling helpless like that. Not have that to his weight to throw around. He wasn't able to.
Yeah, he's struggling with that side of him, which is why I think he invests himself just in his work at that stage to kind of say, no, this is something I can do, and goes back to the idea that, as suspected, he's a pretty good detective. He knows what he's doing when he needs to do it, and even the trailing of the stripper back to find Tyro Reams. He doesn't trust her and believe her as a once off. He goes and probes it and follows her, and eventually just finds her through that.
Yeah, Bernie. So when Russ is drinking his beer during the interview, it makes me want to drink beer out of the can, like a savage.
Beer out of glasses. I don't know. I don't understand.
No, really?
Not really.
Yeah. It's lots of drinking in the show so far.
There's lots of drinking indeed. Yeah. I thought the relationship between Rusta's Crash and his old gang is interesting because on one hand he doesn't have the look that fits, but he has that he has those wild eyes, Matthew McConaughey,
Yeah.
that kind of fit with and he could be capable of anything.
Yeah. And Tony, from what I've heard, he drank the beer, so whatever he said on camera was inadmissible as evidence. I don't think about that.
Oh. Never thought about that either. So, well, they're not asking the right questions, of course, and isn't that what he told them?
Yeah, and they seem to be questioning the leave of absence and him kind of disappearing for subtly to visit his dad in Alaska. But they don't know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, they're really, well, it seems like they know an awful lot more than what Russ thinks that they know. They're much more well prepared for him than he appears to be. And as we get through to the resolution of who they ended up jailing and who actually is responsible for this, because they haven't touched on that at all for the past while. You know, the fact that they convicted somebody, but somebody else has recently been found dead. So that was floated episodes ago and not come back round. The other big thing that I thought was very key in this is the fact that as soon as they get the Reggie Ledoux kind of break in the case, they are getting all the resources they want. Basically, everybody in the station's now working this case now, right? Which screams to me that obviously it was Tuttle, isn't it? The governor. He's the guy that had put the task force together. And it'd be obviously him that would be up to authorizing the extra manpower. And if he thinks there's a fall guy and he's involved and this has been suggested, then he's all the more happy that somebody else could be the fall guy for this. So it kind of all pulls back into that as well. It's all the stuff that's not said in the episode that kind of makes complete sense when you put the other breadcrumbs that you've been given so far.
Yeah, it's a good point. I like too how even when high he keeps his wits, but you can see that it's still a struggle. Well done and great acting.
Oh, it is really terrific acting by both of them, I think, in this episode, because there's very much the big sways of the character. I also thought how well Marty fit into the bar with the cap and the.
Yeah, he didn't stand out at all, did he?
Yeah. He didn't have a beard, but he kind of had the rest of his look.
In his alcohol addiction, a complete act to give him cover, get people to underestimate or ignore him. Oh, yeah.
That's a great point, because you've seen how well he performed using brandies and Tony's point there together. I mean, even though he was well under the influence of drugs and alcohol and whatever, he could still handle himself. And in this case, if he's capable of doing that, what's a couple of cans of beer going to do? I mean, he has this disheveled look of the moustache and the overgrown hair and all the rest. He could do the twirly moustache thing absolutely fine.
Yeah, he could. Yeah, that he could.
But that is a really good point. I like that one a lot.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
it makes sense that he's putting on. It's almost like he's putting on a show to kind of to seem like he doesn't have it under control.
Indeed.
Like he was able to infiltrate the biker gang. Yeah, with that look, and the makeup too was great, because he looks totally different when he looks pale and he looks sweaty and clammy and unpleasant.
Yeah, it's almost like he had contacts or something, and to give him that kind of glazed eye look and stuff, and he is distant, which is a really great acting performance, because Rust as a character is very distant anyway, but to kind of dial that up another 30% is something else.
Yeah, he's really another planet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's somewhere else. He's gone away.
Insane. There was also that very descriptive piece of bit where he describes how they used to kill people. Duct tape you to the floor, cut around your face, rip your face off, hold a mirror in front of your face, cut your dick and your balls off, shove them down your throats until you bleed out or choke. I thought somebody's had a lot of fun writing that.
The cartels do some pretty awful stuff. I wonder if that's a real thing. I wonder if they got
Hmm.
that from somewhere, because there's some I mean, you just hear stories, but I hear they do some really awful things
Yeah, for sure.
to send a message like that. But yeah, but I think that kind of sets a stage for these are the kind of people that I've dealt with. Like
No,
this is where
certainly.
I've
This is
been.
this is the
I'm
danger that
capable.
we're going into.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
And I think also, the warm Marty sort of, and it's sort of intimated, he doesn't have to come along. He'll do this by himself. And even when Marty says, "Do you think you'll be all right and come out of this?" and he's like, "I don't know.
yeah.
There's no guarantees here."
And when Marty asks him what Maggie said, he does tell him, I can see her waning, and I can
Just
see it
softening
together in a few
2
months,
weeks
because he knows what Marty needs to hear. He knows that
Yeah,
Marty needs to stay focused, and
for sure.
he needs to hear that to keep his shit together, basically.
That's exactly it. Well, and from that point on, Marty is an awful lot more settled, for sure.
Yeah.
He definitely is in a point, right? Okay, well, if I concentrate on this, the rest of it will take care of itself. Uh, we'll catch this son of a bitch, whoever it is. But yeah.
Mm. Anything else
Um,
on your notes? The thing
so
is
the only
a
other,
lot of action, I think.
yeah, it's just a lot of action. The only other thing I had again is this about the coincidences of Russ's background story, where his father never had leukemia, whereas he says he's dead. Nobody has seen him at home in 30 years. And again, I'm doing the timeline of actually time from now, how much time has passed and how much time he's saying has elapsed. 30 years is a lot longer than the time period that we're even talking about here.
Mm.
Um, and as I made the point, the question in between what Marty's getting asked by the detectives and what Russ are getting asked, they started off and started the same place, and they're completely diverging now. They're going down different avenues for both of them, and the fact that he was a survivalist, as you said, it all sort of makes this nearly too convenient a profile of Rust. It's nearly too easy to say, okay, this is what it is, but.
Yeah. Tony has to run, but see you in the next one. Yeah, join us
Take
next
care, mate.
time, Tony.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, every Wednesday.
But
Yeah, it
that's
does
my
kind
lot.
of set the stage for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think I was trying to think back to other things that have happened, but I think it's a lot of kind of Rust's descent back into that world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think there wasn't a whole lot of. I know the previous episodes was a lot of character development, a lot of character
Okay.
focus. This one was more plot and kind of the case moving forward.
And surprisingly, for me, by far and away, my least favorite episode because of the
Mm,
kind of more predictable, I suppose, nature of the story. And I'm not saying like you probably needed an episode like this to give it some sort of propulsion, and you get some really cool sequences for sure, like the
yeah.
the, the escape of the house and how quickly it all happens, and presence of mind. Like when you think how high and stuff he is, and he goes in and sees the kid, he's scoping the house out to make sure the kid's okay, get in the bathroom to make sure you'll not be harmed, etc. Very aware of his surroundings, even though
Mm,
supposedly under the influence or whatever.
yeah. Yeah. He still has his capacities. And Daniel's here. Hey,
Daniel,
Daniel. Yeah, I got to join us one of these weeks.
indeed.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. So, any predictions for the next one? What do you think?
So obviously they're going to probably meet Reggie next episode. You
Okay.
would imagine that's the pull there. I'm much more interested actually in how Maggie stays relevant to the story. I think naturally you could look from the outside and say, "Oh, well, she's out," and she mightn't be in the next episode, but I think she's going to make a return in some way because I'm still pretty sure that the reason that Rust and Marty have fallout is to do with her rather than anything to do with the case. Um, but we shall see. We'll see about that one. But I'm looking
Mm,
forward to just kind of getting a few more possibilities. Again, we haven't seen the governor since the first episode. Haven't seen anything to do with that. Haven't seen Clark Peters since the first episode. So there are characters that have been introduced to and then just discarded.
mm.
So lots of interesting little threads.
Are you expecting back to character next episode, or more action, or more plot, or more case? Or do you have a idea?
That's an interesting one. Um, I'm expecting a bit of character because there's that. I was thinking of this is the first time that Marty has seen how violent Cole can be. I think especially at the end where he's laying the ginger there at the end and getting him in the car and harassing him. We've seen Rust be thing, but Marty was in the car those times and stuff, and I expect there to be some sort of fallout in conversation or otherwise between the two of them, and into their relationship and the nature of their relationship, based on the fact of he realizes how dangerous and how violent Cole can be, and maybe that starts to play on Marty a little bit and go, "Oh, what's happening here?" But we shall see.
Interesting. Yeah, we'll see. So that's episode 4. We'll be back next Wednesday on Chris's channel for episode 5. We'll see if Chris's predictions come true. But yeah, it'll be fun conversation for sure. But Chris, if people want to get in touch with you, where's the best place to find you?
You can find me on my YouTube channel at my name, on Twitter at 7 o'clock shadow, or on the page Tune Forms.
Nice. So thanks everyone for coming by, and we'll see you next week, same time on Chris's channel for episode 5. So we'll see you then.
Take care.